3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And this is the third in a three-part series called What is Transformative Coaching? So you can go back and listen to the first two parts. And if you want to learn more and train in the art of transformative coaching, then if you go to michaelneill.org, you'll see links to two programs particularly. There's three. There's one called You Unleashed, which is sort of a foundational course. And then there's Coaching from the Inside Out 2024 and Beyond Coaching, having conversations that change lives. Now, in the first two episodes, I talked about kind of two of the main things that I do in supporting clients to create their presenting goals or projects, to overcome their presenting challenges. And the first is waking them up to their deeper nature, to their divine spark, to that creative essence that we all have experienced from time to time, but too often it feels fleeting and temporary and, wow, I got lucky. When actually, when you start to see it's your nature, you're made to come alive. You have a very different experience of most things. And then in part two, talking about that when you get a more accurate, a more functional understanding of how your mind really works, that helps so much in not getting as caught up and as lost in these worlds of thought that we all spend time in, and being able to be more present to the people around you and to the things that you want to do in the world. Well, the third thing, that this is less what I do than what people use me for as a coach, what people use transformative coaches for, is to act as a sort of an insight catalyst, an innovation partner, an external spark, a catalyst, I love the word catalyst. That's why I use it so much. My company's called Genius Catalyst Inc. because it's something that it sparks change, but it isn't the change. It isn't involved in the change. So in other words, when I work with people, they do amazing things, and I get to spark it and watch. I'm not doing it for them. I'm not doing it to them. But I get to play a small but pivotal role in them coming alive and creating beautiful stuff in their lives. So, look, I am equally known as a spiritual teacher as I am as a transformative coach these days, but there are still relatively few people who hire me to wake them up to their divine spark and correct the 5,000-year-old, I don't know how long we've been around, but the 5,000-year-old cultural misunderstanding of where our experience comes from. Now, some people do, but most people still come because there's something they want to create. They want my support in creating it. There's something they're trying to deal with, and they want my support in dealing with it. And I think it's important to not lose sight of that, to not lose sight of why someone has come to see you in the first place. And it really is. There's something they're hoping to create or accomplish in the world, and they want my support in helping them to create or accomplish it. There's something they're struggling with in their lives, and they want my support, or they want someone's support in helping them to overcome it. So while the things I talked about in those first two episodes are really going to help them fundamentally, they're going to help them with the equipment. What you can also do, what I also partner with people to do, is to help them find clarity and inspiration and fresh ideas in relation to their goals and vision, to help them get insights that will make it easy for them to solve or dissolve their problems, fresh new thinking that's going to propel them forward and unstick them when the path ahead seems blocked. In other words, it's great to have all this wonderful equipment, but you really only find out how wonderful the equipment is when you take it out on the road, when you take it out into the adventure of life and do stuff. And one of the things that I've noticed, because I've trained a lot of coaches over the years, and there's a lot of coaches who think they need to be experts in whatever their client wants to create in order to help them. So they think if they're going to be a business coach, they have to be the ultimate business expert. If they're going to be a relationship coach, they have to have the most perfect relationship. If they're going to be an athletic coach, they have to be the best athlete. But weirdly, the most helpful thing that I think allows me to help my clients is that I'm not them. In other words, I'm not stuck in the same made-up version of reality they're living in inside their mind. And that's true for you. If you're a coach or if you're listening to this, like, it's really helpful to have somebody who doesn't believe your crap. At first, it's going to be like, wait, what do you mean that we're not all screwed? What do you mean that there's hope? What do you mean that money doesn't have to be hard? What do you mean? But actually, that's why you're there, is because you want to be able to see different. You want to be able to see new. You want to be able to see fresh. And because we're not in there, and you know this, whether you're a coach or not, it's always easier to give other people good life advice. Because you see lots of options and they're just fixated on the one option that's not going to work. And one of the things that I think can be extremely helpful, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, well, I've listened because I listen, but I don't really want to be a coach. I kind of more want to be coached. I want the experience of being coached, of being sparked in this way. Then one of the most helpful things you can do is talk to people or read things that you recognize are like intelligent people, are people who've done what it is you want to do, who've overcome the kinds of things you want to overcome, but just are nothing like you. And there's something so helpful about seeing that there used to be an expression, all roads lead to Rome. That there are so many ways to get where you want to go. And inevitably when you're stuck, it's because you've got stuck thinking there is one way and it's got to be this. I used to teach programs on sales and marketing, and I was being interviewed by somebody who had a networking podcast. And they asked me, and we should have thought this through ahead of time. This was not really cool because it was live. But they brought me on the show and they asked me, so now networking is really important. So what would you say to somebody who struggles with networking, who finds networking daunting, who doesn't enjoy networking? And I said, well, I would tell them not to use networking as their path to grow their business. Now, I understand this was an inappropriate response for the particular podcast I was on. I wasn't thinking. But it's also true. If there is some aspect of life that you find extremely difficult, the common idea is, I need to get good at that. And if it sounds fun to you to get good at that, by all means, get good at that. But I guarantee you there's a dozen other ways that don't involve that pathway that are going to allow you to get where you want to go in a way that is, if not easy, really exciting and interesting and fun. So, I'm going to try and wrap these 3 episodes into a bow. What is transformative coaching? Transformative coaching is unleashing the butterfly from inside the caterpillar. It's unleashing, instead of like trying to make a stronger, more powerful caterpillar, it's allowing the oak to emerge from the acorn, the pine tree to emerge from the cone. And the things that allow us to do it is to point people towards their divine spark, so it catches fire inside them and they come alive. It's showing people how their minds really work, how these 3 elements, these 3 principles combine to create a 3D sensory surround sound experience of life that seems so real, and yet the moment thought changes, that world, that reality, that experience changes with it. And to help bounce, to help spark, to give somebody a sounding board where they can really explore, see beyond the edges of their world. One of the quotes I love, it comes from T. Lawrence of Arabia. And he said, all men dream, but not all equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind wake to find it was all vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous, for they may act their dreams with open eyes, make things happen. And if you're a dreamer of the day, if what you are about is making things happen in your world and in the world, if you want to support people in making things happen, in their world and the world, then for me, this has been the richest field of study I've ever come across. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.